Steve, we're here at Signal Hill, which, as I understand it, is one of the most historic sites in Newfoundland. And from this location, I can look down and I can see a Parks Canada sign that is indicating that it's the 150th anniversary of Canada.
Right.
And yet this place that we're standing in, this city that we're looking out at, is 500 years old.
It was founded by John Cabot in 1497.
So this city has been here for far longer than Canada has been a country.
Yes.
Now, we're looking over the majority of the population in this area. As I understand it, you said there's a little over 500,000 people on the island.
On the entire island.
Okay, and how many of them live in this strip right here?
So from what you can see, if you go, this is the far east end, all the way up to the west end. Approximately, if you take all the little suburbs and little villages around it, almost 250,000 people.
And in that range of 250,000, which represents obviously about 50% of the population of the island,
Yes.
how many evangelical churches have we got here?
So total is 22 in using the broadest definition.
Right.
So everything from a very, very conservative on one end to barely the gospel on the other end, but 22 churches that encompass an attendance about 2,200. So right around 1% or...
About 1%.
Yeah, about 1%.
And that's why, you know, generally speaking, when we talk in Canada about unreached areas, we talk about the native reserves, obviously we talk about parts of French Canada, and we talk about Newfoundland.
Yeah.
This is an unreached area.
It really, really is. And not only that, but my burden, being a native Newfoundlander, having been in ministry for 15 years and only coming back, is because largely this is the forgotten unreached people. It's the group I hear least talked about in evangelical circles, which is why we're doing what we're doing. We want Canada to know the need here.
Now, Stephen, there's probably no better place on the whole island to talk about the progress of the gospel than right here.
Absolutely.
Tell me who this is and tell me why he matters for the story of the gospel in Newfoundland.
Well, this is where I think it's very fitting for us. A name here, you'll see this thing is kind of already decaying. It's not very well maintained. But this is a statue that our province erected to a gentleman by the name of Sir Wilfrid Grenville. He is a convert of D.L. Moody, who came here as a physician, a medical missionary, when he was 24 years of age. And he is well known all through the coast of Labrador, down through the west coast of Newfoundland. College, our university, Memorial University, their extension college in Corner Brook is called the Grenville College. We have hospitals named after this man, but he was an evangelical Christian. One of my favorite stories about him is after he came to Christ at a tent meeting, he met D.L. Moody 10 years later and told D.L. Moody, "I'm a convert of yours. I got saved 10 years ago." And Moody said, "What have you done for Jesus since?" And I think that's fitting because of what we're asking the rest of our country, even the world, to pray for. I'm asking for people to partner with us, to pray with us and for us. I'm asking for men and women who will feel the call of God to come and help us raise up Indigenous Newfoundlanders. Almost, I feel, daring like D.L. Moody to say, "What have you done for Jesus? Come help us."
All right, now, Steve, you mentioned earlier that there are no churches in the downtown area, and we're standing right in the downtown core. We're an art gallery. Tell us a little bit about how you're using this location to begin building momentum towards an eventual branch plan.
So this art gallery is Hancock Gallery. One of the members of our church owns this, as you can tell, very talented, displaying the beauty of our province. He has been so bought into the idea of us reaching our city, so he's offered up his own gallery. And on Monday nights, one of our elders meets down here with a group of our people from our church for our Monday Night Life group. And they've been doing the studies. They come down here, they turn the lights on, they have their study. It is not unusual to have people walk in because they think the gallery is open. Right. But John has also said that he would allow us to maximize this space as a potential launching pad for a church down here in the downtown core.
Well, why don't you use that to explain the model to folks in a very practical way. I understand that basically the goal is we're going to have a hub, and then the hub is going to be a leadership training place. Right. And then out of that, we're going to have branch plants in strategic locations to reach the city. Tell us a little bit more. Flesh that out for us.
So this whole vision of what we called Mile 1 vision, or Mile 1 mission, sorry, I should say, We rolled out to our church people last June
Yeah.
at our annual church retreat. And so basically what we've said is between now and the next 20 months, by God's grace, we'll establish Calvary as that hub church. As you've seen our church building, it is a small, antiquated building, and we've filled it. So we have to build a new facility. Tragically and challengingly, St. John's is an enormously expensive city to build in. So our goal is to build something in the 8,000 to 10,000 square feet mode that can hold a maximum of 250 people. But it would be carved up much more for interns, potential church planters, a resource center, an ability to congregate for those group of people. But it's $2 million. So over the next 20 months, our church has been raising money, but we are looking for partners to help us to make that a reality. Then over the next 5 years, which would take us to 2025, the goal is to be able to roll out 5 more strategic church plants throughout the city.
That would maintain a branch relationship to the hub.
Absolutely. So as I said earlier, that whole idea of being nimble and networked. So our model will be that each church will be intimately a part of Calvary until they are truly autonomous on a level of church leadership, which gets back to the idea of developing church leaders. So until our church has each church has a fully functioning plurality of elders or a good sense of leadership, whatever terminology you want to use, then they'll be truly autonomous. And the idea is that we'll always be networked. So that's why Mile One Mission ultimately becomes almost Mile One Network. What I've tried to tell people here at our church, people in Newfoundland, Canada, and abroad, is imagine with me, under the sovereignty of God, that by 2025, we have a church of about 200 at Calvary Baptist that is firmly established with an internship program that has church planters coming and being with us for a minimum of a year. And then we had 5 other churches that by God's grace had 50 to 75 people in them. That means 400 plus people have to come to Christ for that to happen. Now beginning, if you people have been watching our video from its beginning, we started by saying in a city of 250,000, we only have about 21 to 2,200 people attending any form of an evangelical church, and we're being very broad in our definition. So if by 2025, that number went from 2,200 to 2,700, think of what that impact would be on our city. Paul, the other thing that people don't realize is that there hasn't been a successful church plant in this city in probably over 20 years.
Going back to the hard soil.
Exactly. And that's because a lot of people think that coming in here, and this is why I think Calvary being established as a hub church, and why we need the facility with that, is because a lot of times people are parachuted in and they don't have the fancy missionary letters to write home, and churches after about 2 years they get a bit discouraged. What are we supporting? What kind of work are you doing? And countless church planter after church planter has flamed out, burned out, been discouraged, didn't really get to understand the culture because they didn't have that local connection. So Calvary Baptist will facilitate almost that cultural learning program. In the meantime though, you and I both know of how many church planting couples, how many interns, young people that are on fire for the Lord. They've gotten their Bible college degree or their seminary degree. They are primed, they are in the gun, ready to be shot off. And then where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Well, now we'll have that infrastructure in place to say, come to Newfoundland, spend a year or 2 years with us. From that, maybe God will lay the burden on your heart to stay with us for that 7-8 year journey to see a church planted. And what could happen?
So it sounds like you're looking for 2 things. You're looking for patient partner churches who will understand that this has got to be done right. It's got to go deep if it's going to go long. And then you're also looking for some ambitious young people who want to come and learn how to do church in hard places.
Absolutely.